Okay guys, it's Brandon here, Theme Park Predictions and more, and behind me is Carowinds, and tonight is opening night for Scarowinds 2022. So you're not going to want to miss this, because I'm going to give you guys my in-depth review on each haunted house, plus share my overall experience with you, and take you all the way through Scarowinds, the scare zones, and plus, at the end of the video, you cannot, and I mean you cannot miss this very important tip that could save you a ton of time if you're here for the haunted houses. And what's the point of going to Scarowinds if you're not gonna at least do some haunted houses? So join me as I have some scary fun at one of the best regional parks in America. And behind me is Fury 325, and you better believe I'm gonna ride it tonight, and so should you when you go to Scarowinds.
And I think I like it. And the one that they call Deadly.
All right, guys, so that wraps up my 2022 Scarowinds opening night visit. I'm going to give you guys a rundown on exactly what I think about each haunted house, and then kind of give my overall impression of the event. Now, keep in mind, it's opening weekend, so everything's kind of, you know, it's brand new to the actors, it's brand new to Scarowinds on some of the stuff, so it's still kind of a dry run, if you will. But overall, very good event. I cannot wait to tell you my must-know secret near the end of the video, so stay tuned for that. But let's talk about the haunted houses. And right behind me is Fury 325. And in about 45 seconds or so, you're gonna have a train flying right by us. So basically, starting off with the Death of Darkness, that house has always been one of my favorites. I really just love the whole concept of it. I think it's probably the longest house in the Scarowinds here. They have a scene in there called the Swamp Scene. It's basically fog and basically a green laser light. It's fantastic. It's so good. Here comes Fury. And that's probably one of my top 2 or 3 favorite haunts. And the Slaughterhouse is another really good one. That one's been here for a long time, but it's really good. So I'm glad they keep it around. Again, it's a really long haunt as well, and it's very themed and very detailed. I really like that haunt because there's so much to look at and stuff hanging all around you. Highly recommend checking that one out. And another one you have to do is the Tooth Fairy. Now that was new for 2021. And again, it's a pretty long haunt, but there's so much to look at when you're walking through the haunt. That's what I love about this. And there's so many cool things along the walls where you kind of like use your hands to feel around. And you really don't know what you're feeling. It's really cool. You kind of just have to go through it to kind of understand what I'm talking about. I especially really like the ending of that one. They just do some really cool things with that haunt. And then let's talk about the Silver Scream Studios. Condemned, I think it is. And it's probably my least favorite house here. It just doesn't really feel like it's that scary. It's kind of cool how it's pretty well themed. And it reminds me of a house at Halloween Horror Nights to a degree, regarding kind of the overall theme and, you know, the feel of the house, but it just kind of lacks the actual scare factor of it. But overall, it's a decent haunt. That one is located right by Fury, so that line's always long because, of course, Fury's line's long. And then let's talk about the star of Scarowinds, and that's Paranormal Inc. This haunt came from Not Scary Farm, and let me tell you, it is phenomenal. It's kind of on the shorter side, I feel like, but that's only because they have amazing pre-show that, in my opinion, is the best part of the haunt, and it's the scariest part of the haunt. Yes, you have that right. The pre-show, the way they do it is phenomenal. It gets me every time. I just love it. I've already gone through it 3 times. I cannot wait to go through it a bunch more times this year. But definitely Paranormal Activity or Paranormal Inc. Hands down, best haunt of Scarowinds. It's brand new this year. So if you went to Scarowinds last year or 2019 and 2018 and so on, and haven't been since then, definitely come back and try out Paranormal Inc. I promise you this, there's effects in that haunt that have never been used at Scarowinds before. Seriously, it is so good. I cannot recommend checking out that haunt enough. Scarowinds is a great event. The Scare Zones are pretty good this year, on par with last year's, I would say. There's a bunch of them, about 4 or 5 scattered all around the park. Plus, you have all the major roller coasters open, and rumor on the street, Nighthawk will be opening for Scarowinds at some point. It's not currently open now for opening weekend, but they are testing Nighthawk. So whenever they're testing the coaster, that means chances are it's going to reopen very, very soon, which is great. And here comes Fury yet again. So the shows are really good too, so make sure you check the app for all the show times. There's a bunch around the park. The food, there's so many, Fury again. There's so many different kind of food options this year for Scarowinds. The culinary team at the park really upped their game when it comes to the food they're offering for Scarowinds. So really, it's a whole entire experience. Now, I'm going to give you guys two major tips when it comes to coming to Scarowinds. Tip number one, not the most important one, but you got to go over to Paranormal Inc. first. Like, most of it's indoors. There's only a little bit that's outdoors. And honestly, the line gets so long. I was there around 8 o'clock tonight, about an hour after opening, and the line's probably already an hour. So if you do go to Scarowinds and you are able to, splurge a little bit and buy the fright lane to skip the lines, then go to it later in the night when it's pitch black and the line is long. If you can't afford the fright lane, I would recommend getting there at 7:30 within at least 15, 20, 30 minutes max of park opening, because that line will get long. Most of it, 95% of it's indoors, so it really doesn't take a ton away from it if it's still light out, but the line will get very long. Now, you could go in the end of the night, but then again, that's if you're here till about midnight. But overall, do that first if you're going for the haunts. Fury's line gets long too, so it's just kind of a crapshoot on if you're going to go for the rides or the haunts. Now, real fast, my most important tip, as Fury coming by one more time, and that tip is, get to Scarowinds early. Seriously, this park gets packed, absolutely packed. It's a separate ticketed event, meaning the park will close down when Carowinds is open during the daytime. It's about 5 o'clock the park closes. It reopens at 7 p.m. for Scarowinds. Scarowinds runs 7 to 12. So I would recommend getting to the parking lot around 6 p.m. or so. At least get to the park by 6. That way you have time to get through security and kind of wait by the ropes to rope drop. Then I would actually go right to Fury first, since the line's not long right when you first get there, and then run over to Paranormal Inc. They're kind of close together. That's my game plan. Do not show up late. I know it's a Halloween event and you really want to you really want it to be dark out before you come, but seriously, trust me on this. It's not worth it. It gets packed. Get here early, do a couple haunts, do a couple rides while still light, beat the crowds, because at 10:30 at night, the parking tolls are often still packed with cars. So from the bottom of my heart, I want you guys to have a good time when you come to Scarowinds. So make sure you get here early, because it's so worth it. If you do not have fast lane, if you do not have fright lane. Other than that, I come here all the time. If you have any questions, my name is Brandon, theme park predictions and more. Feel free to reach out in the comments. I'll try to answer every question I can, but it's highly, highly recommend checking out Scarowinds. So hands down, get to Carowinds sometime this fall. You will not regret it. And as always, thank you all so much for watching. Go ride Fury. Be sure to smile today and keep riding coasters.